Welcome to the Ironwood Gym. A few weeks ago, Dr. Mike Israetel of Renaissance Periodization put out a video basically telling everyone not to front squat. And it actually made some very good points. And I agree with almost, if not everything, that he said in the video as far as reasons that you should not front squat. He had some very valid points, made things that coaches and lifters should really be acknowledging and um, and taking into consideration whether they're deciding when they are deciding whether they're going to front squat or not. However, I like to look at it from both sides. And that's the point I want to make here. I am going to post the link to that video in the comments. So I'm not going to rehash what he said. I'm going to tell you to go watch his video, watch it for yourself, and hear what he had to say. Because, like I said, he made some very valid comments. He explained his points very well, and I agree with pretty much everything he said. But I also think that the front squat is a very valuable exercise, or can be a very valuable exercise. And I think you should know the differences, or know the reasons to front squat, but also know, like Mike Israetel said, the reasons not to front squat. And then you have to make a decision about what's going to be right for you, or what's right for the athletes or teams that you may be working with. So I just want to go over a few of those pros, and the first one that is probably my biggest reason to front squat is ab strength. You know, everyone wants a strong core, whatever core means, and the front squat it may be the best ab exercise you can do. It's not an isolation movement. It's not just it's definitely not a sit-up or a crunch, or even a bridge or a plank, as what's the people commonly call them now. But it is still a very effective, and probably more effective than any other ab exercise you can find. Would I train the front squat just to develop my abs? No, absolutely not. But the benefit is still very good at developing ab strength or abdominal strength. And I was trying to find, I couldn't find it, but I believe there was a study, I believe it was by Jeff McBride, that did an EMG analysis of various ab exercises and compared that to the front squat, and possibly, like, I wish I could have found the study, possibly the overhead squat. I'm not sure. And I thought the results of that, I don't know that you can always take EMG analysis for being the best exercise, or pointing out the best exercise for different muscle groups, because there's a number of factors that go into this. And one of those being, for the front squat, maybe you shouldn't be front squatting, okay? In that case, it's not the best ab exercise for you. That's just one reason why EMG activity doesn't always work. But what this showed was that the EMG readings for the front squat was far greater, far higher than those of other ab exercises. And through my own practice and experience, I would say that I have to agree with that in this case. So my number one reason to front squat is for added or additional abdominal strength, or ab strength. Number two is going to be the upper back strength. Now, me being a former competitive powerlifter, I had to have a very strong upper back, especially when it came to the deadlift. And I thought that the front squat was one of the better ways of achieving that upper back strength. Is it maybe the best? I don't know, probably not. A lot of people like to do heavy bent over rows. Some people do upright rows. A lot of people do shrugs, all to develop the upper back strength necessary for, and I like pull-ups as well for developing upper back strength for the deadlift. But the front squat was unique in that in the position that I had to be in, I don't really know how to say it. I just felt that the front squat was pulling me down in a way, in a very similar way to when I come up from a deadlift, that it's pulling me forward, and the front squat was pulling me forward. So in that sense, I thought that the front squat was excellent in developing my upper back strength, which carried over to my deadlift. The number three reason that I think front squats are an excellent exercise is that over the years I have developed a number of different tightnesses or restrictions in certain areas, one of those being in my hips. So I used to always have tight hamstrings, and any time that my hamstrings got too tight, I knew the feeling in my low back that was telling me your hamstrings are too tight. You need to work on hamstring flexibility. I had that happen enough that it was a very specific feeling. I would feel it. I would start stretching my hamstrings within a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at worst. That low back pain would let up. As I've gotten older, my issues have changed. So now, which I have found kind of through trial and error and practice, I don't really have anyone that I go to anymore to tell me, hey, this isn't working, this isn't functioning properly, or anything like that. So what I have found is that my hamstrings, while I still consider them to be tighter than they should be, are not the issue anymore. It's now my hip flexors. It is a different pain in my back. It's one that I have struggled to get rid of, but once I discover that once I have that feeling, I know that my hip flexors have tightened up to a degree that I don't want, and I need to get those stretched out. Stretching is kind of effective. It takes longer. Getting on a foam roller or a baseball or something and rolling my hip flexors is about the equivalent of stretching as far as the effectiveness. So what's really worked the best for me is when I start putting it, if my low back is hurting and I know it's my hip flexors, then if I put in front squats in a very short amount of time, pain will go away and my hip flexors start to loosen up because of the position that they have to be in as you go through your front squat. I end up kind of stretching out my hip flexors. My pelvis kind of returns back to its normal position and my low back pain goes away. So those are my top three reasons that I like to have front squats in the program. Not all the time. I do rotate exercises in and out, but front squat is kind of a mainstay in my training. I also like to utilize it with athletes. I thought it was very beneficial for them as a way of developing additional ab strength, as a way of strengthening the quads. So about 1/3 of the squatting that we would do would be a front squat. 1/3 of the squatting would be a powerlifting style squat. So they weren't really getting as much quad strength from that. And then 1/3 was from a normal high bar back squat. More of an Olympic style sitting down. So they were getting quad development there. But the front squat allowed me to get a little bit more quad development with those athletes, as well as some additional ab strength. So I thought it was a very effective tool to provide or to put in the program from time to time with athletes. That also provided some variety for them. So they're not coming in and doing the same style of squat all the time, which athletes that don't like to lift will get bored doing the same thing all the time. So there's my reasoning to do front squats. Like I said at the start, it's not a one size fits all. Not everyone should be doing front squats. acknowledge the reasons that I just gave. Go watch Dr. Mike Israetel's video. Like I said, I'll post the link in the comments, and see the reasons that he says you shouldn't. I think you should look at both sides and then make a decision as far as whether you should or shouldn't front squat, or whether the athletes that you're working with or the lifters that you're working with should or shouldn't front squat. But I do think if you're able to front squat and there's a valid reason to, then putting it into the program could be a very valuable addition to your lifting and to your strength development. If you like what you're seeing here, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, please share it with other coaches, other lifters that you think could get something out of this. Until next time, stay strong, and I will see you in the Ironwood Gym.